Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a specialized dog trainer and you are just entirely exhausted from competing for low-quality leads, we really need to rethink your entire business model today. We're going to crack open the playbook of dog trainer Paul Miller and dive deep into his Backer Canine framework. We're going to see exactly how mapping your strategy directly to the customer pain cycle helps you capture desperate, high-intent clients. Let's get into it. So you might be wondering, why does ranking for something obvious like dog training near me actually tank your conversion rate? It's kind of crazy, right? But think about it, when you're dealing with serious, potentially dangerous behavioral issues, standard SEO is a total trap. It just brings in casual browsers looking for parlor tricks, not people in an actual crisis who need your specific expertise. Generic SEO gets you the eyeballs, sure, but the conversion is incredibly low. The real game changer is the Bay Canine Pain Cycle approach. We have to stop selling generic obedience and completely pivot to capturing high-intent searches that focus heavily on liability mitigation. Believe me, this is exactly how you escape industry burnout and start securing those high-paying clients.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the generic training trap, dig into owner psychology, and then walk through the friction and liability phases before wrapping up with triage and the actual Bay Canine action plan.
Let's kick things off with part one, the generic training trap.
You've seen it. The internet is literally flooded with these 60-second quick fix solutions. And the problem? They only treat the symptoms, not the underlying biology of the dog. There's a total lack of perspective because this kind of training focuses entirely on human convenience, which leaves a massive safety void. Your acquisition funnel needs to instantly position you as the structural antidote to this superficial and frankly dangerous hack industry.
Moving right along to the top of the funnel, let's talk about owner psychology. Analyzing the owner's psychological state early on is absolutely crucial for improving your intake. It's so common for new owners to fall into what we call the empathy trap. Basically, they project human emotional narratives onto their dogs. They end up treating a high-drive working breed like a toddler in a fur coat. This emotional reasoning actually prevents the handler from setting the objective safety boundaries that the animal biologically requires.
So, in this pre-purchase phase, the customer is highly emotional, very aspirational, and completely blind to the actual risks. Their search intent is purely informational. They're Googling things to validate their idealized lifestyle like, are Dutch Shepherds good for first-time owners? To map your keywords to this part of the pain cycle, you want to intercept these searches with the genetic blueprint, shifting their narrative from cute puppies to strict biological requirements before they make a huge mistake.
Now, let's transition into the mid-funnel, which is what we call the friction phase.
Here's where we hit a huge roadblock, the freedom fallacy. Owners genuinely think they're being loving by offering unearned freedom to high-drive dogs, but applying human concepts of liberty to a working breed? That isn't kind at all. It's actually a disaster that actively accelerates the dog's anxiety and reactivity.
By this point, the owner's capacity to care for the dog is rapidly draining. Their search intent shifts, it becomes problem-aware and transactional. They are dealing with real, daily friction and searching for long-tail keywords like German Shepherd lunging on walks. If you intercept these specific friction points by introducing perspective-based training, you offer a biological alternative to their failed emotional reasoning. To really make this SEO strategy work, you essentially have to deprogram the client. You have to stop talking about stubbornness and explain that lunging is actually a sensory regulation failure. When you do that, it instantly elevates you from a basic obedience trainer to a highly specialized behavioral expert.
Which brings us to the most critical part of the funnel, legal liability. This is where things get serious. Cognitive risk oversight. This happens when owners completely ignore the legal and financial liability their dog presents. And this exact failure to accurately assess risk is what leads to severe, consequence-driven incidents. Understanding this psychological blind spot is vital to your bottom line. Because by phase 3, the situation is critical. The owner is socially isolated and terrified of civil exposure. Their search intent is full-blown crisis mode. They're searching for Dog Bite Lawyer California or Strict Liability Dog Bite. By mapping your content to these specific legal keywords, you completely stop writing for the dog and start writing for the terrified handler. That establishes you as a forensic authority. This concept of exposing the legal ledger is honestly where Paul Miller's framework just dominates. When you connect canine behavior directly to legal liability, that's exactly how you capture high-intent clients. These are desperate people staring financial ruin in the face, and they are more than willing to pay a premium for a true expert to step in.
Eventually, if things aren't fixed, we hit Section 5, triage and the rehoming narrative.
This is absolute terminal failure. The handler's capacity for care is entirely breached. They are searching out of pure desperation, basically looking for permission to surrender the animal. They're Googling things like guilt of rehoming a reactive dog. If you capture these searches, you can step in with a 24-hour structural triage plan offering restrictive management, like visual barriers, to instantly halt the danger and buy that burnt-out owner a little bit of time.
There is a massive mental shift you have to offer here. Frame the rehoming crisis as a failure of the management system, the risk matrix, not a failure of the dog itself. You essentially tell the owner, hey, the dog isn't broken, your system is. And the good news? A system is something you can actually fix.
All right, wrapping things up with Section 6, the Bay K9 Action Plan.
So how do we actually do this? First, you need a trauma-informed approach that requires the handler to audit their own nervous system. They have to regulate their breathing before correcting the dog, honestly assess their own emotional bandwidth, and practice objective observation. You really have to teach these owners to stop taking biological responses personally.
To put this all into practice today, here is your action plan. Go audit your existing website content and categorize it into the 4 phases we discussed. Develop your Phase 3 liability content first, because that is your high-ticket moneymaker. Build a pre-purchase portal and, critically, implement local SEO to rank for terms like walking a reactive dog in your specific city. This takes your brand from a generic trainer to a localized lifestyle rescue system. So I'm going to leave you with this one provocative question to chew on. Does your website sound like every other generic dog trainer out there? Or do you sound like a behavioral investigator addressing serious legal liability? I really encourage you to audit your business strategy today and rethink how you capture your absolute best, highest intent clients. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.